When the world heard that Disney was reimagining the classic 1937 Snow White, most people assumed it would be a straightforward homage to an animated masterpiece. After all, this was the movie that kicked off Disney's entire legacy of feature-length animation, a sweet, adventurous tale that generations have cherished, but in a twist no one saw coming. One outspoken star, a few baffling corporate decisions, and a certain controversial cartoon satire have thrown Snow White 2025 into a full-blown cultural maelstrom. And that's before the movie has even hit theaters. This sudden storm has a main character, Rachel Zegler. Hailed by many as a rising luminary after her breakout roles in major musicals and dramatic flicks, she arrived at Snow White with confidence and a vision for modernizing one of history's most beloved fairy tales. But soon, her candid interviews about the classic film's outdated themes and problematic prints unleashed a tidal wave of backlash. From there, the controversy snowballed to include rumored feuds with co-stars, tense relations with Disney executives, and yes, a merciless lampooning courtesy of South Park. Now, moviegoers find themselves torn between praising the new film's forward-thinking approach and lamenting the potential loss of the original's magic. As the drama continues to escalate, new twists emerge almost daily, leaving Disney stuck in damage control mode and fans unsure what Snow White 2025 will ultimately deliver. Will it be the dawn of a progressive fairy tale era or the most catastrophic remake in the studio's recent memory? Let's peel back every layer of the swirling fiasco and figure out how a fairy princess, a legendary studio, and one unstoppable wave of controversy fuse into one chaotic cultural spectacle. It might seem like a no-brainer for Disney to update Snow White, especially given the success of recent live-action reimaginings. After all, a lot has changed since 1937, from storytelling styles to society's view of love, independence, and what it means to be a heroine. To many fans, the idea of a fresh perspective on Snow White, complete with new subplots and character arcs, sounded thrilling, especially if it meant weaving in themes that resonate with today's audiences. Rachel Zegler stoked that excitement at first. She spoke openly about wanting a bolder, more empowered princess who isn't simply waiting around for a prince to rescue her, but she didn't stop there. In one widely circulated interview, she called the original film outdated, even labeling the prince as a borderline stalker for appearing suddenly and courting Snow White without much context. Within hours, social media lit up like a spark in a powder keg. For many fans, the 1937 classic is practically sacred. Sure, it's an old fairy tale with certain elements that might not align perfectly with 21st century norms, but it's also a monumental piece of cinematic history. Seeing Rachel dismiss it so bluntly rubbed those diehards the wrong way, prompting outraged tweets and video rants accusing her of disrespecting Disney's crown jewel. Yet some saw her comments as refreshing. Younger viewers and progressive audiences pointed out that Snow White was indeed created in a time of different social standards. Why not let a modern actress inject some forward-thinking ideas into the story? With every interview and online post, Rachel's fanbase grew more polarized. Those who admired her courage on one side, those who condemned her so-called arrogance on the other. But that wasn't the whole story. Controversies in Hollywood often start small, like cracks in a windshield. First, a stray remark gets overheard. Then, a rumor surfaces about tension on set. Before long, one perfectly timed headline can make a relatively contained issue explode across the internet. In the case of Snow White 2025, those cracks deepened rapidly as whispered accounts of turmoil seeped from the production. Official talk show appearances featuring Rachel and her Snow White co-stars began disappearing from TV schedules. One was allegedly canceled just a week before air, replaced by a less polarizing celebrity interview. Another talk show host let it slip that they'd been strongly encouraged by Disney's PR department to focus on other topics if Rachel came on the show at all. Then came the rumors of friction between Rachel Zegler and co-star Gal Gadot, cast as the evil queen. At a major awards ceremony, the two were spotted actively avoiding each other. No shared photos, no playful banter, not even polite smiles for the cameras. Observers quickly suspected trouble. One insider claimed Rachel felt overshadowed by Gal's star power and was determined not to let the evil queen dominate the movie's narrative. Another insisted Gal simply didn't appreciate Rachel's brash criticism of the original film. Whatever the truth, tension appeared to be mounting not just among the cast, but also at the highest levels of Disney. Bob Iger, who recently resumed the CEO role, was rumored to have taken personal interest in the meltdown, convening special meetings on how to salvage Snow White 2025 from the negativity swirling around its leading lady. The deeper the negativity sank, the more the public realized that this was no trivial controversy. It seemed poised to boil over into a full-fledged corporate fiasco, and as it turned out, it was only going to escalate from there. Few forces in pop culture can pour gasoline on a Hollywood controversy quite like Trey Parker and Matt Stone's juggernaut South Park. For decades, the show has made headlines by skewering whatever's trending, from politicians to pop stars to entire cultural phenomena. So when rumors leaked that their upcoming DI special, a sequel to the Panderverse, would include a biting take on the Snow White 2025 2025 drama, fans and skeptics alike braced for impact. They weren't disappointed. The parody was brutal. An animated Rachel Zegler marched around proclaiming that the new film was about saving society, while simultaneously berating old-school Disney fans for their outdated fantasies. The comedic jabs ranged from mocking her interviews about the prince's stalking to poking fun at the alleged tension between Snow White and the evil queen. Within moments, social media lit up with out-of-context clips, reaction videos, and hot takes from all corners of the internet. By the next morning, hashtags like #Snow White fiasco and #Rachel Zegler meltdown were trending worldwide. Some watchers defended Rachel, calling the satire cruel and dismissive of her genuine wish to modernize a classic. Others felt South Park captured the moment perfectly, highlighting what they saw as the actress's inflated sense of her own mission. Behind the scenes, Rachel was reportedly furious. Sources close to her said she felt blindsided, insisting she was being unfairly lampooned as some out-of-touch diva. Some even said Disney pressured her to let it blow over, warning that responding to South Park typically yields more ridicule. But the damage was done. Whatever illusions remained about calmly navigating this controversy had vanished in a single night of sharp mocking animation, and that was just the beginning of the PR nightmare. As South Park propelled the Snow White 2025 controversy into a global spotlight, Disney executives scrambled for a strategy. Would they defend their actress publicly, clarifying her comments and vowing that the remake would respect the original's legacy, or would they distance themselves from Rachel's outspokenness, hoping that minimizing her presence would cool things down? They chose the latter. Almost immediately, Rachel Zegler's scheduled promo appearances dropped off the map. Interviews she'd lined up for months were abruptly canceled. Magazine features were either postponed or quietly killed. According to some insiders, Disney simply couldn't risk her unleashing more unguarded commentary that might exacerbate the fiasco. On Rachel's end, friends say she felt abandoned, left to face the backlash by herself. As if that weren't enough, rumbles of on-set chaos leaked from production staff. Crew members whispered about last-minute script changes designed to tone down the more aggressive commentary on Snow White's independence. Other rumors suggested that entire sequences were being reshot to reintroduce some of the magic that fans expected, reversing an earlier push to make Snow White entirely about female leadership and social progress. Nobody could confirm or deny these stories, but the silence from official channels only fueled public speculation. Then came the rumored emergency meetings, supposed daily summits led by Bob Iger and other top brass, each trying to figure out how to handle a meltdown that seemed unstoppable. After all, the Snow White 2025 fiasco wasn't just about one star's controversial statements anymore. It now symbolized a broader issue. How far can you go in modernizing a cherished fairy tale before losing the essence of what made it special? But the shockwaves weren't limited to the corporate tower. Ordinary viewers, longtime Disney devotees, and casual moviegoers alike took to the internet in droves to share opinions, theories, and sometimes wild conspiracy claims. On one side, there was a camp that championed Rachel's perspective, arguing that a story conceived in 1937 naturally needed a revamp for a world where princesses can lead armies, break curses on their own, and choose their destinies without waiting for a wandering prince. On the opposite side stood purists who insisted that messing with Disney's original Snow White was practically sacrilege. They questioned the wisdom of messing with a film so iconic it literally set the bar for feature-length animation. Adding to their frustration was the sense that Rachel's interviews came off as dismissive of something that had enchanted millions of viewers for generations. Social platforms erupted with debates, memes, and even comedic sketches that referenced South Park's portrayal. People spliced Rachel's real-life interview sound bites alongside the show's animated parody, highlighting how shockingly similar they were. Hashtags calling for a boycott of Snow White 2025 trended alongside pleas for fans to give the new version a chance, citing the need for diverse representation in modern fairy tales. In the midst of this, Rachel posted sporadically, often in ways that onlookers interpreted as cryptic references to the controversy. Some tweets seemed to call out the haters, while others hinted at feeling stifled by corporate censorship. But because everything was so vague, the rumor mill only got busier, with people making entire video essays analyzing her every word. And just when it seemed the internet might calm down, another wave of rumors would surface, this time about alleged tension with co-star Gal Gadot. Initially, Gal Gadot's involvement was a bright spot. Best known for her star-making turn as Wonder Woman, she brought considerable star power to the table. Fans were excited to see how she'd portray the evil queen, one of Disney's most iconic villains. Then came the signs that all was not well between her and Rachel. At a prestigious Hollywood event, the two stood at opposite ends of the red carpet. Their brief, polite wave was interpreted by body language enthusiasts as a forced courtesy. Rumors swirled that Gal found Rachel's condemnation of the 1937 film excessive. Meanwhile, Rachel, according to gossip, was jealous that the evil queen might steal the spotlight in any modern retelling. To be fair, Snow White is historically overshadowed by her villain. Even in the original, the evil queen holds a commanding presence, with the classic transformation sequence still chilling to watch decades later. But in an updated film, it's possible that the evil queen's more complex motivations might overshadow the simplicity of Snow White's story, unless the lead actress can ensure she doesn't triumphant get-up staged. Add to that the swirling environment of controversy, and you had a perfect recipe for friction between the two stars. Gal mostly kept silent, leaving fans to speculate. Some speculated it was a strategic move, allowing Rachel to absorb the brunt of criticism alone. Others saw it as a carefully orchestrated plan by Disney to keep at least one star free from the crossfire. Regardless, it added another layer of tension, proving that the meltdown wasn't confined to Rachel alone. But if you thought tension between castmates was the peak of this story, you'd be mistaken. Against this backdrop, a key question kept popping up. If the movie is actually good, gorgeously shot, brilliantly acted, could it overcome the negativity? Hollywood history is filled with troubled productions that somehow turned out to be masterpieces, or at least cult favorites once released. If the final cut of Snow White 2025 delivers in terms of emotional depth, nostalgic nods, and innovative new themes, there's a chance mainstream audiences might forgive the behind-the-scenes drama. But skeptics pointed to the big hit South Park had taken at the production. The general public now sees the film less as a creative reinterpretation of a beloved story and more as a corporate fiasco, overshadowed by internet memes. Ironically, the comedic parody might have fixed in the audience's mind that the lead actress is arrogant and the studio is clueless, a double whammy for any film trying to charm fans. Meanwhile, Bob Iger's repeated references to being more selective with future projects suggested that Snow White 2025 might be the cautionary tale for Disney's approach to reboots. If the meltdown continues, or if the movie stumbles upon release, it might become a symbol of exactly why some classics shouldn't be retooled without the utmost care. All eyes remain on Rachel Zegler. Will she find a way to quiet the uproar by delivering a captivating performance that merges modern sensibilities with the fairy tale's timeless magic? Or will her involvement be seen as the spark that caused Disney's mightiest fortress to tremble? And in true Hollywood fashion, the next big twist could drop at any moment. Right now, Snow White 2025 stands at the heart of a cultural flashpoint where nostalgia collides with modern values. Rachel Zegler, once merely a fresh face in the industry, has become a lightning rod for fans' frustrations and Disney's mounting pressures. Her bold words about the 1937 classic, the rumored backstage clashes, and the savage parody from South Park have entangled the film in a web of controversy so thick that even fairy godmothers would have trouble sorting it out. At the end of the day, this isn't just about one actress or one film. It's about a massive studio trying to update a story that's practically etched in cinematic stone, while still pleasing a new generation hungry for progressive narratives. Whether Snow White 2025 ends up revered for successfully blending tradition and transformation, or roasted as the misfire that proves some things are too sacred to modernize, remains to be seen. So as Disney sits in crisis mode, Rachel Zegler weighs her next move, and fans brace for the next bombshell reveal. The looming question is, can this live-action remake somehow recapture the wonder and charm of the original, even after every setback and scandal? Or will it go down as a cautionary tale in Hollywood's reboot-obsessed era, forever known as the meltdown that no one, not even a magic mirror, could have predicted? Only time and perhaps the box office numbers will provide the final chapter in this saga. But one thing's certain, the drama swirling around Snow White 2025 has already made it one of the most talked about fairy tales of our time, whether that's the crown the film wants to wear or not.